Hi there guys, taking advantage of some bright weather and the workmen outside doing the insulation on the walls, taking a crafty few hours off, doing a whole bunch of videos on one day. Starting off here with, well, many of you have probably heard the story about these two aircraft. This is the B-17F, ye oldie pub, flown by 2nd Lieutenant Charlie Brown of the US Army 8th Air Force. And that is the Bf-109G6, flown by Franz Stigler of the Luftwaffe. And these two aircraft met over the skies of France in unusual circumstances in the Second World War. It's quite a famous story. There was a book written about it called A Higher Call, and Corgi Miniatures have released, they're no longer producing them, they're quite rare and they're very, very expensive. A die-cast model B-17 of your oldie pub and the die-cast model of the Bf-109G6 flown by Franz Stigler. So we'll give you a close-up of these two models, and if you're not aware of the history of what happened to these two aircraft, I'll talk you through it. On the 20th of December 1943, 2nd Lieutenant Charlie Brown from West Virginia was desperately trying to keep his crippled B-17F, ye oldie pub, in the air while returning from a bombing mission over Germany. The tail gunner was dead. Charlie had flak in his shoulder, one of the waist gunners had lost a leg, another one was in shell shock, the radio operator had a shrapnel fragment in his eye, and the ball turret gunner had frostbitten feet. The situation couldn't have looked any worse when they passed over a German airfield where Lieutenant Franz Stigler was waiting for his Bf-109G6 to be rearmed. He'd already shot down two B-17s that morning, one more and he would earn the Knight's Cross. Stigler took off in pursuit of Brown's B-17. He remembered the B-17 was like a sieve, there was blood everywhere. He could see the crew trying to help their wounded. Through this gaping hole in the fuselage, you could see crewmen working frantically to save a comrade whose leg was blown off. He thought to himself, how can I shoot something like that? It'd be like shooting a man in a parachute. When he was flying in North Africa, his commander, Gustav Rodel, had 98 victories, and he said to them, "You're a fighter pilot. If I ever hear of you shooting someone in a parachute, I'll shoot you myself." As far as Stigler was concerned, attacking that B-17 would have been as bad as shooting somebody in a parachute. So, instead of attacking, he positioned his Bf-109 within 3 feet of the port wing of Charlie Brown's crippled B-17 until he got his attention, and then through the use of hand signals tried to indicate that he should divert to Sweden where his crew would be given medical attention, and which was only 30 minutes away, as opposed to returning to England, which was 2 hours away, and he was going to have to fly over the North Sea, and numerous anti-aircraft batteries on the way. Brown said that he just didn't understand what the German pilot was trying to do, and so he continued on course back to England. Realising that the American aircrew didn't understand what he was trying to tell them, Stigler decided to escort the wounded B-17 back to the Channel coast, knowing that as long as he was in close formation with an American bomber, anti-aircraft batteries wouldn't open up. They reached the coast, he saluted, peeled off, flew back to his home airbase. In 1986, the then retired Colonel Charlie Brown decided that he had to try to find this unknown German pilot. It took him 4 years of searching, but in 1990, after publishing a letter describing the incident in a Combat Pilot Association newsletter, he got a phone call out of the blue from Franz Stigler, who it turned out was still alive, had emigrated to Canada in 1953, and had become a successful businessman. At a meeting of the surviving members of the crew of Brown's B-17 and all of their children and grandchildren, almost 100 people were present. It was pointed out to Franz Stigler that if not for his act of mercy and compassion, not one of the people, almost 100 people, not one of the people in that room would have been alive. The two men remained close friends from 1990 until 2008, where they both died within months of each other. And that story is why I knew that if I was ever going to get any model of the B-17 or a Bf-109G, it was going to have to be this one.